Got something a little different for you here today on the channel. I'm going to do a bit of a strength test and see if I am in fact overbowed. I bet I am. So this comes by way of my Discord server, which is attached to my YouTube memberships as well as my Patreon page. And basically it came up in conversation about this test that Michael Pert, an archer that I shot with back in the day in the World Cup circuit, previous to 2012, he and Coach Kim, I guess, discussed some sort of a strength test related to what is very similar to pumping SPT, which is something I did at the training center. So pumping SPT is a strength building exercise to where you come back to full draw for a count, and then you come up to setup position and come back to full draw for a count. And you do that a minimum of 7 times, up to 10 times, and then rest, I think like 2 minutes in between. I've got links down in the description below and a card at the top up there to the pumping SPT video. And you'll see that this test that I'm doing here is very similar to that. Essentially, what Coach Kim says is that high-level archers on national training circuits should do a minimum of 7 of these holds, which is very similar to the pumping SPT exercise. And essentially, you come to full draw for a count of 7 seconds. You go down to what would be considered setup position in Coach Lee's KSL shot cycle, but basically ready position here before you come back to full draw again. So essentially, you'd be at full draw for 7 seconds, in this position for 2 seconds, and then back to full draw again at 7 seconds. So I've already warmed up, and I have a Tabata timer set up on my phone, and it's going to give me those counts in that interval. I'll also display the seconds on the screen so you'll be able to see what I'm doing and how much time is left. And from what I understand, you're supposed to be able to maintain your structure, maintain your technique when at full draw, and not have, say, the bow shoulder coming up, alignment being broken, stuff like that. And we'll see how many I can do. I don't train, I don't practice nearly as much as I would like to. And I shake in just about every single video I'm shooting, no matter what draw weight bow I'm shooting. I could shoot down to 36 pounds, all the way up to 48 pounds, and I'm shaking. I think it's actually something to do with something in my system, some sort of strength imbalance somewhere. I haven't had the time to really dive into that and check it out. But in my recent video where I was reviewing the Archery saws, the SOS stabilization optimization system something. Anyway, I was shooting this bow, and the draw weight, I believe, is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 42 pounds, 43 pounds. I'm not sure. I've got this Last Chance Archery HS4 here. Let's give it a quick check. I'm going to pull until the clicker clicks and then let down. Yeah, 43.6 pounds. So that's clearly not enough for this test. So what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to max out these limb bolts on this bow, on this Hoyt Exceed, and go for it because I might as well get it close to a competition-ready bow weight, draw weight that I would compete with on the national circuit. Man, I tightened that thing way too tight. That's maxed out. And then I will adjust and make sure my tiller is back to where it should be, because I'd like to have the same feel on my fingers when I'm doing this exercise. Much harder to string. Check the quick tiller. Actually, it's pretty close. I'm going to leave it right there. Check the draw weight. Okay, so 43.6 was the last draw weight. 49.6. I'm going to do that one more time. $48.5. So it's somewhere in that range, between 48 and 49 pounds, which is a little more than what I want, because I'd rather compete with somewhere in the neighborhood of like 46 to 47. Yeah, 49. So whatever. Let's just check it and see how many reps I can do with this exercise. I don't need an arrow. And this is just something to kind of see what I'm capable of doing, because, I saw this come up, like I said, on my Discord server. And I was interested because I've never actually done this kind of test to see the actual, I don't know, peak draw weight I should be working with here. And it's just something I'm curious, because I'd be willing to bet that I'm able to do 7 right away, no training, at way too much draw weight. I believe the reason I can do this is a few different things, and I'll talk about that after I complete this test. So before I get ahead of myself, I'm going to start things off. I'm going to use a Tabata timer like I said. It's going to be 15 seconds of warning before it starts. And then after that 15 seconds, let me check. Yeah, so I got 15 seconds and I go right into full draw. So I'm going to make sure that by the time the 15 seconds countdown beep ends, I will be at full draw and transferred into holding before that first second starts of the actual first draw cycle. So I am going to set this down. Actually, I'm going to set it down on my remote battery here in front of the camera so I can get a good look at it. I apologize if the beep is a bit too loud for you, but we're going to go for it. All right, so I got 15 seconds, just that way I can kind of get set up here. Two, 1. 49 pounds is a lot. Jump the gun a little on that one. So this is 3. This is 4, I believe. So I'm shaking already. This is 5. 6. Just about out of gas here, so almost to 7. Yeah, 7. All right, so no training involved at all. Let me shut this thing off. Catch my breath. So no training involved at all at way too high a draw weight, 49 pounds. I mean, I'd rather shoot somewhere in the 46 range. You know, ever since we got rid of the full FITA, I find no need to shoot over 47 pounds. Personally speaking, anything less than that, and I find the release can suffer a bit. But I shot this bow at, 43.5 pounds during my Kaminski Archery Backyard Championship outdoor round when I put the SAS, the stabilization optimization system, on the bow. And I had a bit of a head-to-head there, if you saw that video. And I was still able to shoot a 333 out of 360. It's not really world-class, but it's definitely, it's pretty close. It's up there, considering no training at the low draw weight. So I'm happy with that. So, I got to 7. I'd say maybe I gave myself a 6.5 out of 7. Because I really started to run out of the actual power to get the bow back to full draw. So, if the idea and the rule of thumb is 7 minimum to be on like a national training circuit and be fit enough on a national training circuit, or shooting enough, training enough, have the right draw weight, whatever you want to call it. I think a lot of that has to do with the actual technique you use, how you pull the bow back, how you hold it, how good your alignment is, and how mature your muscle is as well. A big part of strength, I believe, is mature strength. Stuff that you've done for long periods of time, meaning time expanses, not long periods of time in a day, but over years. You build up what we would call old man strength. And I definitely have old man strength in some ways because I've shot archery for so long. I can pick my bow back up at any time and shoot relatively decently and relatively high draw weight, too high a draw weight, in fact, in my opinion, just fine, for the most part. Now, the actual bow itself is my limit and why I shoot too much draw weight. I don't have tons of limbs that are at lower draw weights, and that's in fact why I have these NS limbs on. These are older win limbs, but they're 40-pound limbs, and so I'm able to shoot less draw weight because some of the newer stuff that I've got is coming in pretty heavy. And I don't want to shoot 48, 49 pounds. That's why some of the previous videos I've done, I've been shaking a whole lot more, just because it is definitely too much draw weight. But I want to get the review done and I want to get the content in front of you all, so I do it anyway. Now, like I said, I was fairly confident that I'd be able to do really close to, if not the minimum of that 7. I thought I could do potentially more than that. But, you know, I overshot my draw weight hopes and just went with it at 49-ish pounds, which is just way too much. Way too much. I don't think really it's necessary for anyone shooting 70 meters to shoot that much draw weight. I just wanted to try this, put this to the test. I will have a link down in the description below to Michael Pert's YouTube channel, and I'll put a card at the top as well up there to his channel in case you're interested in checking that out. It's just it was an interesting experiment to see how much draw weight I can handle. You know, I think that my shaking that actually is going on is, like I said, some sort of strength imbalance somewhere in my shoulder. The shaking that I experience is almost only an up and down vibration of my elbow when I'm at full draw, and I can do that with a 35-pound bow, and I'm shaking pretty much the same amount. The amplitude of the oscillation of my elbow is not as much with the lower draw weight, but how much and how often and, you know, how much I feel it is still the same. So I think there's some sort of structural limitation, some sort of strength imbalance, some sort of range of motion imbalance, and probably has to do with, I used to be a pitcher, and so my external rotators on my right side are way out of a normal range, and the internal as well. So this one I can go all the way down to roughly where is normal, and this one, that's it. It can't go down anymore because my range of motion plane has shifted back because I pitched when I was a young kid. So I know there's some structural stuff going on in the shoulder. I think that's actually what's causing my shaking, not so much the strength, but it was interesting anyway, like I said, to try this strength test because I was curious. I wanted to see what I could do, but it's pretty interesting. If you're going to do this at home, be careful. Because if you don't have proper technique going down to this position, especially, this is a big warning, especially if you're coming from up high, got to let that scapula follow that collarbone up and forward. Don't keep it retracted down towards the spine. That's how you're going to get impingement issues. So just be careful. Don't do something stupid. I don't want you to injure yourself trying to do this test just because I thought I could do it. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Just something a little fun, a little different. I wanted to put it to the test and see because it popped up, like I said, in the community that I'm involved in. I've never done it, and I don't think I'll be doing it again, not at 49 pounds.